Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Alicia and I'm the owner of Alicia Be Creative. Today's video, we are using this brand new style of blank that is available on my website and this UV DTF, which is just too cute. So we're going to pair these two together and of course I'm going to walk you through the process. So stay tuned and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to be using a few of the products from my website. So we have this UV DTF that is now on my website on the UV DTF list. And then this is a brand new blank on my website. These are 16-ounce stainless steel cans that come with the handle. And so I feel like this is just a super cute style. And so when I saw these from the vendor that I typically purchase my blanks from for wholesale, I was like, I have to try these out. Like I have to see how these are. And honestly, I'm really kind of loving these. I feel like these also could be certainly like, you know, a cup for coffee or your iced coffee in the morning. But I also think it would be a cute like kids cup style too. A little like mini you know, mama mini set would be super cute with these, I feel like. So I have gone ahead and unscrewed the handle, of course. We are not going to epoxy with the handle on, and we want to make sure that when we're glittering and adding our inks and things, we're getting the entire cup. So I'm going to take just some painter's tape and tape off those prongs that stick out that attach the handle before I go ahead and do my normal prep process. So the color of this cup is like the powder blue, but there are 4 other colors available on my website in this style cup. So we're just going to sand as normal. And because I want my base to be white, I'm going to take this to the spray tent and I'm just going to base paint it white. The reason why I'm base painting it white is because we're going to be adding alcohol inks. And because this is a shiny surface, we're not really going to get the inks to stick correctly on this kind of shiny, slippery surface. So we need to do a flat paint over that in order to ensure that our alcohol inks have something to grip to. So we're going to be using 3 alcohol inks today. These are all from Jen's Crafted Gems, but I also will list alternative colors that are similar from some inks you can find right on Amazon. But we're going to use like a blue, a light blue, a pink, and a purple. And so once I've gotten my inks in my little paint tray I have here, I'm going to dilute them just a little bit with some of the isopropyl alcohol. And this is because both the pink and the purple are super vibrant colors, which is great. However, I kind of want more of a light pink and purple and not so vibrant. So just diluting that a little bit with my alcohol ink is going to help make those colors brighter or make those colors lighter when I apply them to the cup. Okay, I'm just going to use a paintbrush, and I would love to tell you that like there's a real technique here, but there's not. There isn't. This is going to be a Peekaboo tumbler, so I am just kind of going back and forth between all of the colors and just trying to cover the entire cup. There is no like, again, no technique. You don't have to do this even with a paintbrush. You could use like a sponge. I use like makeup wedges a lot of times when I'm applying alcohol inks. Like I just decided that today I was going to paint it on. Maybe give a little more of a watercolor look with my inks. But again, no technique here other than I'm just trying to make sure I have equal sections, blue, pink, purple, etc. Okay, so just kind of have fun with this. Honestly, this is another like project I would say that a child could do. That sounds really like weird to say, but like this is just like, you know, doing watercolor when you were in art class in elementary school. You know what I mean? So like it does not need to be difficult, especially because we're covering most of this up. So we're not really going to see it. So you don't need to stress about how perfect all the colors are blending. None of that. What I am doing too in between as I'm adding all of those colors is I'm using my paper towel to dab off any excess ink so that I'm avoiding a lot of the, you know, like ink running. And then I'm using that alcohol that I just have that's plain in there to just go in and just help a little bit of a blending in some of those sections that look super harsh or super deep colored, just to lighten them up a little bit so that things blend just a little bit. But again, no real like crazy thing happen. Just cover your cup in all your colors and you're good to go. I did let that cup sit with the inks on it for a full 12 hours before I'm going to do any sort of epoxying. So I really want to make sure that those inks are fully dry, They're not going to, you know, change color under my epoxy because they're not dry. So I will let that sit just for like 12 to 24 hours and then go in with my coat of epoxy. So we're doing our first coat of epoxy here. And so we're using our Flint Sister Supply Shop Fast Cure Epoxy to do our first coats. I'm just getting enough epoxy on here that I have a real smooth, slippery surface. Being careful not to get any of the epoxy on the prongs there that have the tape, so that I don't obviously end up epoxying that tape on there. We will remove the tape though after the first pass of epoxy and after I have torched the cup to remove bubbles. But just make sure you have enough epoxy on there. I think I did like 20 mLs. I was epoxying other cups, but I think I did like 20 mLs of this cup, probably a little bit less, and it was fully coated. So we'll torch this, let this sit until it's fully cured, and then we can go ahead and get our decals on. So our cup is cured, and we are going to go ahead and add some decals here. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a Peekaboo. And so to go, of course, with the butterfly theme with the decal that we're going to be using, we're going to do some butterfly stencils on the cup to be our Peekaboo. Okay. So unfortunately, when I was doing this cup, I ran out of stencil vinyl. Stencil vinyl, if you've been watching my channel long enough, is one of my favorite things to use for Peekaboo because it's so easy to remove that stencil vinyl after, you know, you've spray painted or glittered or whatever you're doing with your cup. So first off, I thought that this was going to be removable vinyl. Turns out it's permanent vinyl. So I got them applied. The issue was not applying them. The issue definitely was trying to remove them. It took me probably 30 minutes to remove these, and I only have like, 8 to 10 butterflies on here? Like, not even that many. So this is just one of those things that sometimes it's just better to just go out and get the thing that you need than trying to substitute with something else. This is one of those instances where substituting something with what you already have is not going to cut it. So just my 2 cents there. Definitely gravitate towards something like a removable vinyl or a stencil vinyl. It'll really save you a headache in the long run. So once our stencils are on, back to the spray tent with the purple aromatherapy color from Color Shot. And we are going to do a Tacket method application of glitter over top of our stencils, okay? So I'm using my Tacket, my Aleene's Tacket. I don't dilute my Tacket. You can if you want. That does certainly make your glue last longer. I just go the full Monty and just, you know, pour enough on that I know I'll need and smooth it on with a paintbrush. And then I will let this dry. So you can set it aside to dry for, 10 to 15 minutes for it to be fully clear. Or what I like to do, because I'm impatient, is I'll use my heat gun or a fan to just speed up the process. Now we're going to go in with our glitter over top. So this is Violet Rainbow from Batty Glitter. It is so pretty. It is a violet color, but it has a holographic shift to the glitter. And it's just, it's so pretty. It is the perfect glitter to use if you're going to be doing Tacket method, for sure. So we're going to get that fully coated all over the cup, all over the Tacket we applied. And then with our gloved hand, we're going to burnish this glitter down. And burnishing just means you're going to basically rub the glitter into the Tacket and making it sit flat on the tumbler. So it gives this really beautiful holographic shimmer finish in the finality of the look. And it is just a look that is honestly my favorite, one of my favorite. And I forget how much I enjoy Tacket until I do a cup with Tacket, the Tacket method. And then I'm like, why don't I do more of these? And I feel like I've said that multiple times on my channel. So now that our cup is fully burnished, all the glitter is nice and flat, we've picked up our mess, we're going to go and remove the stencils. So this is where I struggled. I spent probably 30 minutes trying to just remove all of the butterfly stencils. They were easy to see, although you can't really tell on camera, but because the glitter is flat on the cup, you can see the raised, decal underneath. So that wasn't my issue. My issue was getting the stencils off. Because it was permanent vinyl, and not removable, there's no stretch to this vinyl because it's permanent. So it really was a bit of a pain to pull it up because it would kind of rip in sections, and I just was spending so much time just trying to get these pieces off that never again will I use permanent vinyl as a way to substitute for a stencil or removable vinyl. bad choice on my part. Bad choice on my part. Just did not work in my favor. So finally got those removed after lots of effort. And we're going to be putting this, of course, back on the turner. We want to cover up this glitter before we can do our final decal and such. So I want to put the tape back on the prongs of where the handle goes so that I don't get any epoxy on there. And then we can take this back to the turner to do our coat of epoxy on the cup. So back to the turner we go. There's no sort of dry process you need with Tacket because your glue is, as soon as it's clear, like that's as dry as it's going to get. It's always going to be a tacky feel, which is why you're putting the glitter over top to stop the tackiness essentially and stick to the tackiness. And then that's it. There's no other wait time you need to have before putting epoxy on your cup. So we're going to add about 15 mLs, just a thin coat of epoxy on this cup. I didn't want this cup to be too bulky, so I am being mindful about the thickness of the epoxy coats I'm putting on here. So just 15 mLs of Fast Cure from Flint Sister Supply Shop. We'll torch that. We'll go ahead and, of course, remove the tape off of the prongs, and we'll let that cure for 6 to 8 hours before it'll be good for me to touch and, of course, remove, or add, I should say, do our sanding and add the decal that we're going to be using today. So it's been about 8 hours or so. I'm going to just take this off the turner and just address the top rim here. This is where, of course, I want to make sure that I have a fine line of the original cup exposed. That way our final coats of epoxy will adhere to that. Now you don't have to epoxy all the way up to the top rim. I just personally like to do that on these kinds of cups. Even with my 40 ounces, I typically do that. It's just preference for me, but you could have taped off this top section and not done epoxy on that top coat or on that top rim and left that the white or even the Peekaboo that you had, done under this. Now we're gonna place our decal. So this decal says, "Embrace your inner beauty." I think it's so pretty and so just adorable. I just have a real thing for butterflies lately. I don't know. I'm just really loving them. And it's really making me excited for spring. So we're gonna go ahead and apply the UV DTF, removing the backing, placing it where we want it, rubbing that down until it is flush with the cup, and then removing that top transfer sheet. Finally, before we can do our final coats of epoxy, I am going to add a thin layer of polyacrylic, and this is just going to seal in my UV DTF and prevent my epoxy coats in my final coats from repelling off of the UV DTF decal. So once that is done, I will then go and do a final 2 coats of epoxy, and while that is now cured, we're going to go ahead and, of course, reapply our handle to the cup. So we're going to do this just simply. Make sure that our pronged areas that our handle is going to stick to back onto is clear of any epoxy. Apply that handle and just re-screw on our screws. I really did find that this cup style was super easy to work with as far as epoxying and without the handle on. I know sometimes with 40 ounces, there can be a real struggle sometimes with getting your epoxy to not kind of pool in that area where the handle goes, but these were actually super easy to work with, and I did not have any issues with like the handle not going back on the way I needed it to and getting it screwed on completely. So once my handle is screwed on, of course, that's literally it. That's all we're gonna do for today's cup. I think that this one is too cute and just absolutely adorable. Again, I feel like there's so many different ideas for this style cup, and I really am excited to see how you guys take these blanks and kind of put your own flair and artistic, creation on these. So definitely be sure to check out my website and, of course, the description for all of the supplies. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And, of course, you guys know I will see you again in the next one. Bye!